Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading. We shall be starting Sri Damodara Janani by His Holiness Sivarama Swami. This is a very, very sweet book, and it's all about Damodar Leela of Krishna. And since the Damodar month is fast approaching us, we shall begin this reading on this auspicious day of the first Navaratri. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhete girim yat kripatamham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hariyam Tassat. Sri Damodara Janani weaves a captivating tale of the glories of Mother Yashoda. No other person has ever received the unique mercy that Krishna showed his own mother, teaching devotees for all time that the binding force of love for him is more powerful than even his own supreme will. A Leela that stopped the demigods in their tracks, captivated the residents of Gokul, and even stunned the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. This most powerful and beautifully scripted spotlight on Mother Yashoda is a revelation that will bind the devotees' hearts and in turn detail the path to hopefully binding the heart of our beloved Shri Krishna. This book is actually volume 4 in the Krishna in Vrindavan series by His Holiness Sri Ram Swami, Sri Damodara Janani, Lord Damodara's mother. It's based on the writings of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and the previous Acharyas. And in the dedication, Maharaj has written, Srila Prabhupada said, even in this material world, there is no comparison to a mother's love, for a mother loves her child without any expectation of return. With my head upon their lotus feet, I dedicate this book to every devotee's mother, including mine, Dushi. So this book has been dedicated to every devotee's mother, and including Maharaj's own mother. So how sweet. This book has got 12 chapters, and I will not be reading from the preface, and I will read the Mangalacharan though. In Mangalacharan it's written, Goddess whose merciful glance is sought after by personified fame, honor and reputation, whose spiritual wealth is unmatched by leading demigods, liberated souls and perfected devotees, O Yashoda Devi, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. May the breeze created by this narration of your glories carry my way a few particles of sparkling Chintamani dust from your lotus feet, and may that dust fulfill my desire to serve your precocious son and his beloved in a very special way. While answering Parikshit Maharaj's question regarding how you came to be the mother of the Supreme Lord, the sage Shukadev was eager to exemplify his previous stated conclusion that the mercy the Lord bestowed upon you and your husband is greater than that received by almost every other devotee. Thus he diverged from the chronological description of Krishna's pastimes to cite an ancient narration that is distinct from everything that has been and would be spoken. O personification of maternal love, after seeing your reaction to Krishna displaying the universe in his mouth, Krishna's mind was full of astonishment. Your unalloyed love had hypnotized him, although he tastes great pleasure from displaying affection for his devotees, the parental love you showed towards him was an even greater source of bliss. Being the greedy child that he is, Krishna was eager to test the limit of that parental love, to know what it was like to be imprisoned in it, to feel what it was like to be bound by it. He who binds devotees with his ropes of love, his niryoga pasha, wanted to be bound by your ropes of love, your vatsalya prema pasha. O Divine Mother, perceiving the Lord's thoughts and knowing that your good fortune is even greater than that of your kingly spouse, Krishna's pastime potency scripted this Damodar Bandhan Leela and cast you in the leading role. Being in full agreement with his plan and in awe of your devotion, although he remains infinite, without beginning or end, Krishna allowed you to tie him up for the insignificant offense of stealing yogurt and milk. By such submission, he displayed supreme perfection and completeness. O Mother, just see your son, who with the laws of karma and dharma binds those engulfed in theft, anger, and deceit, and makes them cry, has now become implicated in those same misdeeds and bound by your ropes. He now cries a river of false tears. Although he said nothing, King Parikshit was confused about the kind of sadhana you would have to practice to perfect such unprecedented maternal love. The story of Drona and Dhara did not reveal any such extraordinary sadhana. Seeing his disciples wonder, Shukadev Goswami eagerly proclaimed the ultimate philosophical conclusion in the verse, Nayam Sukhapo Bhagavana. That verse proclaims that you are Sukhapo, Nayam Sukhapo Bhagavan. That verse proclaims that you are the eternal shelter of maternal love, of which Krishna is the eternal object. Were one to collect all the love of every mother for every son in this universe, that aggregate would not compare to a mustard seed portion of your love for Krishna. Thus Shukadev Goswami explained to Parikshit Maharaj that you never performed any pious act to attain your good fortune. Rather, your good fortune is eternal, a feature of your divine identity. And although the king did not ask to hear this pastime, one that he had repeatedly heard since childhood, the merciful sage poured forth the nectar of Damodar Leela from his lotus mouth. O Mother Yashoda, once during Parikrama of Vrindavan, the instruction to glorify you came to me in a wonderful way. While meditating on that inspiration, it appeared to me that there was no pastime that so stunningly made known your control over the Supreme Lord as when you bound his belly on that Deepavali day. Like a child who sets sail to cross the ocean in a raft, I begin this effort of praising your devotion with my paltry skills. Although my effort will no doubt fall short of success, I pray that the same divine mercy that enabled you to finally bind Krishna's belly will enable me to reach the far shore of my aspirations. Surely every child desires the public veneration of their mother's qualities to be impeccable and does everything in their power that it be so. May a certain suckling prince whose cloud blue body is tarnished with dust, whose face is streaked with tears, whose belly is tied to a grinding mortar, but whose heart is overflowing with astonishment at his mother's love, enable me to succeed in this composition. So in the notes, Maharaj has written, Yashoda means one who bestows fame. However, Yashoda bestows fame not only upon devotees and Krishna himself, but also on fame personified. The story is narrated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 8, verses 48 to verse 52. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 9, verse 21. And these are the chapters which are included in the book, because like we read Krishna book last year, which is Canto 10, and in which we read this Damodar Leela. Now we are going to read Sri Damodara Janani, which is so beautiful. It is written by Maharaj, by Sivarama Swami. And let's start with the introduction. The truths about Nanda and Yashoda's parenthood of Krishna. Traya Kopani Shabhi Sacha Sankhya Yogesh Satvateh Upagi Yamana Mahatmayam Harim Samanyata Tat Majam. Shukadev Goswami said, the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are studied through the three Vedas, the Upanishads, the literature of Sankhya Yoga and other Vaishnava literature. Yet Mother Yashoda considered that Supreme Person, her ordinary child. At the midnight hour upon which Krishna made his appearance in the jail of Kamsa out of fear for his safety, his parents Devaki and Vasudev requested Krishna to hide his divinity and somehow leave Mathura. In response to this appeal, Krishna transformed his four-armed Vishnu form to that of a baby, and invoking his illusory potency, he enabled Vasudev to leave the jail unnoticed and cross the Yamuna river to Gokula. There in the maternity house of Nanda Maharaj, unseen by anyone, Vasudev exchanged his own son for the newly born daughter of Queen Yashoda and returned with the girl to Mathura. When Kamsa came to know that child destined to kill him had taken birth, he immediately rushed to the prison to kill it, but the girl in Devaki's arms was no ordinary child. As the divine potency of Krishna, she slipped from Kamsa's grasp and, assuming a celestial form, she chided the king and disclosed that the child who would actually kill him had already been born elsewhere. So the Yogmaya's precise words were, Yogmaya, that is the daughter, Yashoda's daughter, which Vasudev had brought back with him. Kim maya hatya manda jatah khalu tavantakrit yatra kava va purva shatrur ma himsih kripanan vritha. O Kamsa, you fool, what will be the use of killing me? The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has been your enemy from the very beginning and who will certainly kill you, has already taken his birth somewhere else. Therefore, do not unnecessarily kill other children. Yogmaya's response is intriguing. Rather than saying that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is somewhere else, she says that he has taken his birth somewhere else. But did he not take birth in Mathura from Devaki's womb? No, according to Yogmaya and as Krishna's younger sister, Anuja Vishnu, she should know. Srimad Bhagavatam clearly states that Yogmaya had taken birth from Yashoda, and if she is the younger sister of Krishna, then that means he also took birth from Yashoda some moments before her. In other words, they were twins and he was the older of the two. Moreover, says Shukadev Goswami, the reason Yashoda was unable to understand either this sequence of events or the kind of children born to her was that she was too exhausted by the labor of childbirth. Therefore, since Krishna was born to Yashoda in keeping with the truth that Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, the Lord born to Devaki must have been Vasudev Krishna, who when brought to Gokul as Krishna's expansion, merged into the form of Nanda's son. Now, if Yashoda is the mother of Supreme Personality of Godhead, then why is the common understanding that Devaki is the Lord's mother? And how did Yashoda and Devaki become mothers to the Supreme Lord and his expansion? The answer to the first question is that Krishna's pastimes are very mysterious. By his own admission, Naham Prakashah Sarvasya, Krishna reserves the right of not being exposed to anyone, rather than reveals his inconceivable human-like form to non-believers and neophytes. He prefers to connect them with his unmistakably divine Vishnu form. It was that magnificent and eternally mature form that he immediately displayed upon appearing from Devaki's womb. Srila Prabhupada also explained that the love of Devaki was Jnanamay, mixed with knowledge of the Lord's opulence, whereas the love of Yashoda was Kevala, completely pure, free of such feelings of reverence, and hence superior. In reciprocation with such love, Krishna appeared to both devotees, but differently. To one, he was God, to the other, a cowherd boy. To these explanations, Vishwanath Chakravarti adds the following. The fact that Krishna was also born to Yashoda is not very well known, because Yashoda and Devaki were friends. Yashoda gave her fame to Devaki so that she would become famous as the mother of Krishna. For these reasons, Krishna's birth to Mother Yashoda continues to remain a mystery to all, but seasoned Vaishnavas, so as not to confuse others. Advanced devotees also call Krishna by the names Devaki Sutta or Devaki Nandana. Although like Queen Kunti, they sometimes praise the Lord in ways that eulogizes both sets of parents. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and the other cowherd men of Vrindavan, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses. This answers the first question, why is the common understanding that Devaki is Lord's mother? The answer to the second question, how Yashoda and Devaki became mothers to the Lord, is neither so straightforward nor so short. Although Srimad Bhagavatam gives the history of how the two sets of parents attained their status, it is commonly understood that one does not become the mother of God. Srila Prabhupada writes, it is not possible for a sadhana siddha living being to become the father or mother of Krishna, for Krishna's father and mother are already designated. Because the relationship and affection between Mother Yashoda and Krishna is the underlying theme of this book, this introduction focuses on the answer to the question in the way that scriptures and acharyas reveal it. Thus we shall set the scene for Krishna's enchanting Damodar Leela by introducing the history, mood and eternality of Mother Yashoda's love for Krishna and of his love for her. The sequence of events leading to the pastime of Mother Yashoda binding Sri Krishna seems to be similar in whichever day of Brahma the Lord descends. By his own declaration, Krishna appears in every day of Brahma. Sambhavami yuge yuge, I myself appear millennium after millennium. Srimad Bhagavatam describes Krishna's pastimes in this day of the Creator. Just after his birth, Krishna was assailed by Putana, the Rakshasi and favorite of Kamsa, but the Lord foiled her plan to poison him, and by the power of his lips he sucked the life out of she who posed as his nurse. However, in a display of extraordinary kindness, Krishna gave his would-be killer eternal service in the spiritual world as a nurse. Remembering this pastime in Vidura's company, Uddhav was overcome with emotion and cried out in bliss, alas, alas. 3 joyful months passed wherein the Vrajavasis did nothing but speak and think about baby Krishna's sweetness and beauty, and when the Lord first rolled over, Mother Yashoda invited all her subjects to participate in the Utthana festival. At that time, Krishna toppled a cart loaded with Nanda Maharaja's heirloom utensils and in the process killed other demon who became known as Shaktasura, the cart demon. Thus Krishna revealed the unlimited power in his lotus feet. Thereafter, Nand Maharaj became anxious to perform the name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram, the Namkaran, just at the time that great sage Gargamuni appeared to fulfill Nand's desire. Thus, in the secrecy of a cow barn, accompanied only by family members and the boys' mothers, Nanda Maharaj first heard the name of his son, Krishna. According to the Brahma Vaivarta Puran, a second and public name-giving ceremony was performed in tandem with Krishna's grain-giving ceremony, Annaprashana. This took place on the 14th fortnight of February. From this time on, the brothers were called by their names, and thus the Sankirtan of Krishna's name resounded throughout Gokul. That transcendental name quickly revealed to Kamsa the death knell of those demons that he had sent to Braja. Hoping against the hope, the king dispatched a whirlwind demon, Trinavrat, who took Krishna high into the sky with the intention of dropping him. But the Lord displayed his physical strength, and by invoking a fraction of his limitless weight, he made the demon fall to earth, where this soul merged into Krishna's effulgence, just as lightning merges into a monsoon cloud. Mother Yashoda and her subjects still failed to recognize Krishna's true identity. Instead, they thought that their past piety and devotion to Lord Narayan had saved his life and saved them from being separated from him. Yet one day, while drinking his mother's breast milk, Krishna yawned, and to her amazement, Yashoda saw the entire universe in her child's mouth. With this display of opulence, Krishna hinted to his mother that it was he who was the cause of victory over the demons, but Mother Yashoda's pure love would not allow her to conceive of such power in her son. Thus, even though tested by the Lord, her prema never faltered or waned. To the contrary, it increased. Through his pastimes, Krishna repeatedly revealed his awesome potencies, Aishwarya Shakti, but the Vrajavasis like Mother Yashoda were so overwhelmed by love for him that they could not entertain the idea of his godhood. Instead, they thought that it was the God who repeatedly saved Krishna from danger. And so, with their undiluted piety, they continued to pass his tests of love and set the bar of loving devotion for all the devotees all-time high. Having thus tilled the fertile soil of the Vrajavasi spontaneous love, Krishna then sowed that soil with many other seeds of exceptional pastimes. Day after day, those seeds sprouted into graceful creepers that embraced the nimble tamal sapling of Gokul and quickly flowered to fill the village with the enchanting fragrance of their sweetness. Parikshit Maharaj had heard of these nectar-saturated sports of Krishna from his mother Uttara and from his grandfathers the Pandavas, and he knew well that hearing these pastimes was especially conducive for awakening attachment, ecstasy, and finally love. Shukadev Goswami goes on to say, Gayanti Adyapi Kavayo Yal Loka Shmalafam Paham. Krishna's childhood pastimes are so magnanimous and so great that simply chanting about them vanquishes the contamination of the material world. Following these introductory demon-killing pastimes, Krishna became eager to shower his devout associates with his love, as well as to attract conditioned souls to him. At Balaram's urging, the Lord abandoned his pastime of laying in a cot, and rising to his hands and knees, he began to crawl here and there. Full of divine energy, the two brothers rambled around the courtyard of Nanda's palace, crawling through mud and cow dung to the accompaniment of their tinkling anklets and the gopis' laughter. Although Balaram was a year older than Krishna, they played, ate and slept together, and on one occasion that they agreed to wear clothes, they were similarly dressed, although Balaram would only dress in clothes that bore the color of his brother's complexion. As fearless as lions, the two brothers followed the example of young calves and drank milk directly from the udders of the palace cows. And when the calves tried to assert their own rights, the boys tugged at their tails, resulting in their being dragged. Through the courtyard, in this way, Krishna and Balram amused not only themselves but the residents of Braja, and as a result, their antics became the talk of the village and subject of the songs composed by the elder gopis. When Krishna finally learned to walk, he extended his playground beyond the palace walls to all Gokula, his entourage from Balram to the village children, and his play from innocent games to the children mischief. And he became famous as Makhan Chor, the butter thief, because he daily raided the storehouse of the cowherd women with his friends and gorged on gopis' butter, yogurt and milk. And milk products. The women of Gokula would come to Yashoda to complain of Krishna's antics and openly wonder at how he would disarm them with his smile, in the same way that a snake charmer hypnotizes snakes with a mantra. Unable to correct him themselves, the gopis complained to Yashoda. While describing Krishna's mischief in detail, the gopis tasted not only the parental love for him but astonished at his mysterious powers. And although the women of Braja warned Yashoda that without correction Krishna would later steal women's wives, Yashoda Devi had no inclination to chastise her son. She would leave such duties to her husband. Nandaraj, however, was equally enchanted by Krishna and had no intention of rebuking his son. Thus Krishna and Balram roamed freely through Gokula unchecked. One day, in a new turn of events, Balram had the boys complained about the Krishna not for stealing milk, but for eating dirt. Krishna knew that the testimony of his brother and friends would greatly harm his mother. Fearing punish, he denied all accusations and challenged Yashoda to look into his mouth. Placing Krishna on her lap and grasping his soft chin, Yashoda opened her son's mouth. Before continuing this pastime, let us first study the loving exchange between mother and a son, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes. I have prepared the Acharya's words as follows. Mother Yashoda scolding Krishna for eating dirt and the fear of his reprimand are both impetuses for stimulating their mutual love. Krishna could have taken shelter of his divinity, Aishwarya Shakti. So still there's few pages left for the introduction. So I think we leave our introduction for now and continue with it tomorrow, and hopefully begin the chapter 1 as well, if time allows us so. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.